Most people have no idea how powerful the VA loan really is. No down payment, no private mortgage insurance, and yes, you can use it more than once. But here's the kicker. There's a lot of bad information out there that could cost you thousands of dollars or stop you from buying altogether. So today I'm breaking down the 12 most common questions military families ask me about VA loans and what you actually need to know in 2025. I work with tons of military families relocating to Warner Robins and Robins Air Force Base, and I hear the same questions over and over. So whether you're buying your first home, thinking about selling, or wondering if you even qualify, this video will save you time, money, and a whole lot of stress. Question number one, who can actually qualify for a VA loan? Well, active duty service members, veterans, National Guard, and reserve members. And certain surviving spouses can all qualify. During wartime, 90 days of service. During peacetime, it's a 180 days of service. If you're not sure, a lender can usually verify it really fast with something called a Certificate of Eligibility, or COE. Another question I get all the time is, can I use a VA loan more than once? And yes, you can. And this shocks a lot of people. You can use your VA loan benefits multiple times, even for more than one loan in certain situations. You just need to have enough remaining entitlement or restore your benefits. It's not a one and done deal at all. Did you know that? Let me know in the comments below. Do disabled veterans get extra benefits? Oh yes, they do. And this is a big one. Veterans with a service-connected disability are completely exempt from the VA funding fee. And that's thousands of dollars you can save, for real. And in Georgia, you might also qualify for a property tax exemption depending on your disability rating. Here in Houston County, where Robins Air Force Base is located, you will not get 100% exempt for your property tax, but you get quite a bit of an exemption when you have a 100% disability rating. Another question I get all the time is, do I need a Certificate of Eligibility, COE? And as I mentioned that before, you need that. The lender will verify if you are eligible for a VA loan. So yes, but don't stress it. Most lenders can actually pull it for you online in just a few minutes. It simply confirms your military service meets VA loan requirements. Question number 5 I get all the time is, can I have a non-veteran co-borrower on a loan? And the answer is yes, you can, but there is a twist to it. The VA only guarantees your portion of the loan, not your co-borrower's. That can reduce the total loan amount you qualify for or increase your down payment. So it's possible, but not always ideal. Is a down payment required? No. It is not. That's the beauty of a VA loan. It is a government-backed loan and it offers 100% financing, which means no down payment in most cases. Another important question I get all the time is, what credit score do I actually need? Because everything in the US does actually wrap around the credit score. You need a credit score for everything. But technically, the VA doesn't have a minimum. But most lenders want to see a 620 or 670 FICO score. Higher is better, of course, but if you're close, still talk to a lender. They can guide you. Finance-wise, this is another one that I get all the time. How does my debt-to-income ratio actually affect my approval chances? Well, the VA prefers a DTI, debt-to-income ratio, of 41% or lower. But they also look at something called the residual income. How much you have left after bills. So if your DTI is a little higher, but you've got solid income left over, well, you can still qualify. A quick tip, if you're using your BAH basic housing allowance for housing, that can boost your income and help with your approval. A lot of times, actually all the times, when you as a VA buyer want to apply for a loan and you have a specific property in mind, the lender will give you something like a cost sheet where all the cost of the loan will be shown. And a lot of people ask me, what is the VA funding fee? Well, it's a one-time fee that helps keep the VA loan program running. For first-time users, it's around 2.15% of the loan amount. For subsequent users, it's about 3.3%. But as we mentioned earlier, disabled veterans are exempt from the VA funding fee. A pro tip, you can roll the funding fee into your loan so it doesn't come out of your pocket. But that is why the fees for a VA might be a little bit higher at closing than conventional loan, for example, where you have 20% or 10% or 5% down, because you got nothing down and somehow they need to keep that loan program rolling, and therefore they charge a VA funding fee. Question number 10, can the seller pay my closing cost? The answer is yes. The sellers can pay up to 4% of the loan amount towards your closing cost. That includes things like title fees, insurance, and even paying off collections in some cases. In this market, the 4% can be a difference between getting into a house or actually not. Can you use a VA loan for an investment property? And the answer is no. The home must be your primary residence. But you can house hack, meaning you buy a duplex, live in one unit, and rent out the other. That's 100% legal with a VA loan and a good start in your first investment property. And the last question I get a lot from military VA home buyers is, can I buy a foreclosure or short sale? And the answer is yes, but the property must meet VA minimum property requirements, MPRs. That means the home has to be safe, move-in ready, and structurally sound. If it needs major repairs and the seller won't fix them, you're out of luck, unless you pay cash for the repairs up front. The VA doesn't like fixer-uppers. Unless the work is already done, no broken HVACs or leaking roofs allowed. Now let's talk about selling a home with a VA loan, because a lot of people don't even know this is a thing. Can a buyer assume my VA loan? Yes, they can. And this can be a huge selling point, especially if your interest rate is lower than today's rate. But the buyer has to qualify with your lender, and you need to get a VA release of liability. Here is the issue with it. Over the last couple of years, people had lower VA rates, and now the rates are much higher, but also the property equity increased by a lot. So if you are trying to assume a loan, you can do that, but you would have to pay the difference from the loan balance to the actual purchase amount out of pocket. So let's say the loan amount is $300,000 and the property is listed at $370,000 fair market value, and you agree to that, you would have to pay $70,000 out of pocket. Another huge questions I get from VA sellers all the time is, what fees can I as seller actually pay as a VA seller? Well, sellers can still pay up to 4% in concessions. It's the same amount that VA buyers can actually ask for on the buyer side. So let's say you're buying a $200,000 property or you're selling a $200,000 property, you can give the buyer a maximum amount of $8,000 in seller concessions. That can include closing costs, prepaid taxes, or even repairs. Probably the biggest questions that we get all the time from VA home sellers is, what happens if the VA appraisal comes in low? We get that questions with buyers as well. Well, here's the deal. you'll need to renegotiate with the buyer or the buyer with the seller, or they'll need to cover the gap in cash. A lot of times, VA home buyers cannot cover the gap in cash. And a lot of times if the appraisal comes in lower, that means your home was either overpriced and someone put in an offer over list price, or they thought it appraises at that point, but the appraisal gives actually the value that the bank is willing to pay for it. So if you think your home is worth $320,000, but it appraises at $300,000, well, the VA is not gonna give the buyer $320,000 to buy it. So they would have to either pay the difference in cash, or they have to renegotiate with you as the seller. The VA appraisal process can be pretty strict, but it's not a deal breaker if you are actually prepared. The VA loan is hands down one of the most powerful benefits available to military families, especially here near Robins Air Force Base or any military installation. But it's also one of the most misunderstood. It's not just for first-time buyers. It's not too good to be true, and it might just be your key to home ownership sooner than you think. If you have a question that I didn't cover, drop it in the comments. I respond to every single one of them. Or reach out directly, especially if you're PCSing to Robins Air Force Base. I love to help. And if you're thinking about using your VA loan soon, don't miss my next video, the top 5 mistakes military families make with VA loans and how to avoid them. I'll see you soon.